So my name is Mia Vaughnes, and I started a urban share crop. That's what we call it. It's essentially a community development project that's centered around growing food in available spaces in personal residence yards. And then what we do is we aggregate it and we distribute it to others who subscribe online. So it's essentially a neighborhood food co-op that's really designed for neighbors to feed neighbors and for people to establish meaningful connections and to cultivate cooperation, just to make sure that whole food is available and accessible to as many people as possible, to give from abundance, because we all have abundance of some kind, whether it's space in our yard or fruit falling from our trees or time that we can spend in the yard, skills on how to do so. So it's really about aggregating all of that and making sure that we can be as resourceful and as zero waste as possible so that everyone can benefit. So we're doing it here in San Diego. And I founded it with my partner, Walt Sanford, back in 2013. And since then, we've established or installed over 270 residential and school gardens here in the city, and fed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people.
How many participants do you have right now?
Well, we do four things. We install gardens, we maintain them, we distribute the surplus, and we educate. So when you ask, how many participants do we have? There's people participating on every level. I can't really tell you how many people are participating, or have participated, but it's well over, several thousand people.
That's amazing. Wow. Challenges, because I'm sure there's a lot of challenges.
The challenge is to find spaces, large spaces where we can grow a significant amount of food to support the distribution and to, involve children and allow them an opportunity to contribute to their community and really to do something of consequence where they feel, wow, I grew this plant, I'm feeding my family, and it's extending beyond me and my family. And that's why we created the Soulful Green Practice. That's why we created the Kate Sessions Commitment, is because we wanted to continue to give kids access to doing something. And we have young adults, mostly participating now. We had the Harvest Kitchen where the kids would grow the food, harvest it, and bring it into our little outdoor kitchen that we created on campus and cook for their families and their peers. And we had the Soil Lab where kids would grow, compost, build compost. And we had community compost days where the businesses would come and bring either their green waste or brown waste. And so the kids had, opportunity to cultivate relationship with business owners.
Tell me a little bit about COVID and how that's affected, because you mentioned really a little bit how, and how's that really affected the work that you're doing right now?
It really hasn't changed what we do at all. As a matter of fact, in April, our demand for services went up about 250, 300%. So we have just been like boots on the ground, working our butts off to try to feed as many people who are asking for harvest boxes and build as many gardens as, respond to people who want gardens as possible. Our food production side is really, it's us growing food in people's yards, their willingness to share it that gets us a portion of what we distribute. The other portion comes from small scale farmers that we want to support in town that are regenerative agriculture farmers that are doing it in a way that is small. They're not the large farmers that are subsidized. These folks are just really trying to do what's right. And so we want to make sure we support them. And then once we satisfy, once the homeowner has their fill, because they get first dibs on everything that's grown in their yard, then they share whatever's abundant. They make that decision. That's up to them. Then we take that and we aggregate it with what we're getting from all of our gardens and from the small scale farmers. We distribute to our subscribers, who we call good neighbors. And then we always end up with extra, and that goes to charities. So that way people can feed one another, and we can be zero waste at the same time. So we have a really nice distribution order that stretches well beyond the homeowner.
How did it start? How did you, from where you are now, it's incredibly impressive. I'm wondering how did this all come to be?
Well, the truth is, my boyfriend in 2012, we started dating in 2008. He said to me, "Can I build you a garden?" That was one of the very first gifts that he offered me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. And so he built me a garden. And so it really started as a love offering. And we just ended up growing so much food. We couldn't eat it all. And I just thought, oh my gosh, this is tragic. This would be so much better if we could share it. That's how it started. And then just doing our best to be as resourceful as possible, because I feel that that's the charge we were given, has led to this zero waste initiative. And, how can we improve upon it? And we distribute our food in a reusable, washable container. And we require that everyone return that container. We actually don't even charge a deposit for it, because we just really want it to be, a self-validating approach where we can see that people really do want to live in community. They want to cooperate. They want to do this. And so our return rate is like 90-something%. It's high. It's really high. So that keeps our costs down. We're now starting a new program called Full Circle Soil, where we're giving out buckets for people to return whatever harvest waste they end up with, so that we can, again, turn that in as greens to our compost piles and build more soil. So that way our subscribers get to help us farm. And then we're educating them, letting them know how that's benefiting us. There's nothing more nutritious for the soil than green waste, brown waste, compost. It's microbial rich. You can't buy it in a bag. The microbes die in a plastic bag. So this is a way for us to keep the healthiest plots and sequester as much carbon as we can out of the environment and bring it down into the soil where it can be used. So this is regenerative agriculture at its finest, and everybody's hand is important. So
that's amazing. I guess my last question has to do about community. And I'm really curious about the people that you're working with.
There's just so many stories. I mean, you could go to our Instagram, but we have beautiful farmhands, people who are actually growing the food for people in their homes. So the homeowner gets their own personal farmhand who shows up once a week to do the work. Most people want to garden, but they don't have the time or the inclination or the know-how. And so the farmhands are amazing, because they are the ones that establish the relationship with the homeowner, and they come regularly. And the children, I mean, a lot of times the teachers would approach us and say, they're not going to make it academically. They just don't have the attention span or whatever. And they're amazing in the garden. They're the ones that are growing the most food. They're the ones that are nurturing their peers. And the homeowners, the gracious neighbors, people who just have the need to give, and they get so much joy out of it. We've got a gal who lives in her van who just wants to be our driver. So she delivers like 80% of the harvest boxes to people. And she's just consistent and so cheerful. And everybody wants to get in her van with her, because she's always got music playing and she's always coming with a smile. People leave her gifts at their door. It's a community effort. I'm just making space for it. I prayed for it, and I'm making space for it. I can't say that what's happened is all me. It's definitely a we thing.
It's amazing. And it's so inspiring. Thank you so much, Mia. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's been fun.